Every day across this country, someone tells the truth and then takes it back. Not because it wasn't real, but because it became too dangerous to hold on to. Before I begin, I want to take a moment that this talk is going to deal with domestic violence, and it's a painful subject. If you need to step away, that's okay. My goal is not to shock or scare you, but to help you become truthful voices in a world full of coerced silence. Also, as a disclaimer, I will be focusing on female victims of domestic violence, as these instances comprise most court-involved cases. However, men can and are subjected to these violences as well. So this past summer, I interned in Massachusetts with the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, specifically with the Sex Offender Registry Board. Surrounded by stacks of thick files containing stories of abuse, pain, and survival, I read hundreds, probably close to 1,000, of what are called victim impact statements. Each one uniquely disturbing and deeply personal, offering raw reflections of what had happened to survivors and their loved ones. What struck me the most was how often perpetrators were previously known to their victims. Often family members, boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, spouses, ex-spouses, and dating partners. So throughout this talk, I want you to keep in mind some important statistics. 1 in 4 women experience domestic violence, and an overwhelming 80% recant their statements, with some studies showing up to 95%. This makes recantation the norm, not the exception. And for those who aren't familiar with the term, recanting a statement means to take back your previous statement in court. In the world of domestic violence, this means taking back your allegation of abuse. So as you've heard before, Heirloom asks us 3 questions. What do we preserve? What do we question? And how do we transform what's handed to us? So throughout this talk, I'll provide you the tools to preserve survivors' truths, question the myths surrounding survivors, and transform our communities. So while things like victim impact statements, sex offender registries, survivor resource centers, and domestic hotlines exist, here's the hard truth: none of them are complete. Resources like domestic violence hotlines are often underfunded or unevenly applied, or just too simplistic for the complex realities survivors face. A victim impact statement can be powerful, a registry can warn a community, but neither can fully stop the manipulative tactics used by abusers or protect survivors from the various pressures they face to remain silent. So while there are steps being taken to protect survivors, we still face significant barriers in protecting their truths and delivering justice, reminding us that transformation is not finished. So after looking at the shocking data on survivor recantation, I asked, why would someone withdraw or change a previous statement that they wrote with such graphic detail and immense passion? Dr. Amy Bonomi, Dean of College of Health and Human Services at San Diego State University, and Senior Deputy Prosecuting Attorney in Seattle, list the many various reasons that I and others at Colby point out that why a survivor might change their statement. These reasons include fear of retaliation, financial dependence, worries for their children, PTSD, anxiety, shame, lack of faith in the justice system, and self-doubt. However, Dr. Bonomi's team led a study that expanded the world's understanding of why survivors recant. They studied hours and hours of manipulative phone calls between abusers and their survivors through the jail phone recordings that ultimately resulted in survivors' recantation. The reoccurring themes heard during these jail calls were so concrete that they were able to develop a 5-stage model detailing exactly what abusers would say, how they were saying it, and also how the survivors were responding. And I listened to a presentation by Dr. Bonomi and Attorney Martin, who provided a practice perspective on this model, and I communicated with Dr. Bonomi in preparation for tonight's talk. So I will now share the 5-stage model and offer how we can apply the knowledge to our lives and our communities. And please keep in mind that these aren't made-up stories. These are real conversations with real people and very real consequences. So, stage 1, the argument about the abuse event. You hit me so hard. I'm a very fragile person, and I lose it like the Incredible Hulk. Here you can see the abuser acting like he was the target of the abuse rather than the real survivor. Stage 2, minimization about the abuse and appeal for sympathy. I didn't even hit you that hard. Feel sorry for me. I was hurting. I was drunk. I'd never actually do that. Here you can see the abuser appealing to the survivor's sympathy by describing how much he was suffering in that moment, and this reversed the role of the couple's relationship, where he was positioning himself as the survivor, and the real survivor responded by soothing the abuser. Stage 3, bonding over memory, loves, and dreams. Listen to me. This is your husband talking. We both need to listen. I'd like to start acting like husband and wife. This couple was not even married, but he was using husband as a term to hook the survivor closer to him. Stage 4, the direct ask to recant. Go to court, tell them what you wrote was a lie, you were just mad, they'll let me go. You might get 5 to 10 days in the hole, but I just did 5 for you. You can't do 5 for me? Here you can see that the abuser was not only directing the survivor to recant, but he reinforced his request with a sympathy appeal. I just did 5 days in the hole means feel sorry for me. Lastly, stage 5, reconstructing the story together. We'll say it was a car accident. We'll blame the state. Here's what you'll tell the judge. Here the couple made up a story to make it seem like the abuse didn't happen. So the team identified these 5 stages across multiple couples that show how often reconstruction isn't a sudden choice. It's the final act of a story written by manipulation. What this means is that we must protect and warn survivors of the predictable manipulation tactics that they might encounter. So going back to heirloom, I return to the question of what do we preserve? And we must preserve survivors' truths. Based on the 5-stage model, Attorney Martin's team re-engineered its prosecuting strategy to expect recantation and prepare for it, because they know that the longer a case drags on, the more time abusers have to deploy these manipulative tactics. This is why speedy but deliberate investigations must be standardized so that 911 calls, body camera footage, medical records, jail calls, and witness testimony are preserved from the start. They literally have to act as if the crime scene were being tampered with. A ticking time bomb that's set to blow when manipulation corrodes the willpower of the survivor. What do we question? We question the cultural myths. If we flip the myth that survivors lie, we can stop asking, why did they change their story? And start asking, what made them feel they had to? At the same time, we cannot ignore that there are rare cases when someone does fabricate a claim of domestic or sexual violence. The National Sexual Violence Research Center shows that these instances are uncommon, estimated at around 5% of cases, but their consequences are extremely serious. Not only are the wrongly accused defamed by the event, but it also disrupts public trust in survivors. Keep in mind the figure I provided earlier states that 80%, 80, end up recanting their statements, and 1 in 4 women experience domestic violence. So doubting all survivors is out of the question, even if these false reports do occur. Lastly, what do we transform? We transform both our connections to each other and to our systems. And this is where all of you come in. Survivors resist best when their trusted networks and others stay open and supportive, and lawyers and advocates cannot do this alone. as family, friends, teammates, coaches, coworkers, professors, you are all on the front lines. Survivors need trusted networks that they can reach any time of day or night, someone who protects their voice, someone who cares about them, and you can do this even if the survivor is not known to you, by providing survivor-centric community events around campus, reminding survivors that they are not alone and that coordinated support is available. You can start with, "I believe you," "I'm so sorry this happened," and "Are you in a safe place?" are some starting points. So by looking out for one another and recognizing that manipulation occurs together, we can transform our culture that traditionally silences survivors into one with infrastructure and support. Here at Colby, we try to do this through peer-led sexual violence prevention classes. We teach underclassmen about intimate partner violence, bystander intervention, and this helps build empathy and knowledge on these types of violences on our campus. So what happens in a classroom in Waterville might seem far from a courtroom in Boston, but the principle is the same. When people recognize manipulation, they can intervene early. So each one of you has the power to reach out, to listen, and to support. Imagine if judges, law enforcement, and advocates received the same kind of training, not just on evidence, but on emotional coercion, the minimization, the sympathy, the guilt that binds survivors to their abusers. If you have seen the results of these crimes like I have, then you know the gaping hole it leaves in someone's mental psyche. To have no autonomy over your own body, to say words you don't believe, it's a torment that no one should have to endure, and it's non-negotiable that we change. But change doesn't come from policy alone. It comes from people, from how we choose to look out for one another when the systems surrounding us are failing. Just look around. We have been slapping the wrist of perpetrators, and we're taking orders from others. It's just not okay. So you might look up here and see a senior in college on his high horse about a topic that I frankly more than likely won't have to encounter. But understand that it takes all of us, and even further, it can start with all of you. Be the truth we preserve, be the one who questions the myth, and be the transformation we need. Thank you.